To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Connecting you to more of what makes you happy, this is Kingdom Report Live with a fresh look outside at the Disneyland Resort via the Mattercam. And yes, we are looking live at Matterhorn Mountain with Big Thunder Mountain in the background. If we can't be there physically, we can certainly be there virtually, and this gives you a nice shot of Disneyland as we know and love it. My goodness. You see the castle spires there in the background as well. So if you are just a listener to this show and not necessarily a viewer, you are missing out on some great visuals here. You can also check out the Mattercam on YouTube as well. But great to be with you. Great to be a part of your life this beautiful weekend. Hello, everybody. I'm Wade Heath, coming to you from the Kingdom Report Live studios for another great broadcast full of Disney news and discussion that you need to know. Yeah, there's so much to cover this week, a lot to talk about, so many great topics to touch on. But it's not just me here. No. In fact, there is more to the madness than you can even realize. That is why we welcome our friends at a distance, because social distancing is still a thing, and we want to be healthy. So at home, AttractionFaction.net's own Katrina Manzone and Tyler Crouch.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Oh, I'm feeling good. So great to
feeling good,
see
too.
both of you and your
Awesome.
castle.
I know.
Yes.
My head's blocking
Little
it.
Lego castle.
You guys
It's
should
not that little, actually.
you guys should build a new Disney Lego set on a future broadcast and try and complete it while you're talking. I'm sure it'll go over very
This would
well.
end up in a breakup.
Screaming and yelling and throwing
Yeah.
things.
I do have that train station to build, but I think that would take a little longer than an hour, especially if I was going to be talking to you guys at the same time.
It'd be fun to watch, but yeah, no, I think you might be right. And from his bunker in Nebraska after fleeing Orlando, Florida in a panic due to the global pandemic, somewhere undisclosed, our Walt Disney World reporter, Mr. Gared Hassel.
How's it going, everyone? Hope you're having a fantastic Saturday. I'm bringing it to you live from Magic Kingdom like I always do. So, yeah, I'm on the streets here to give you the up-to-date news.
Yeah, careful. You don't want Walt to smack you in the back of the head. Gonna make a example out of you. Oh my gosh. And of course,
I never want to upset Walt.
No, you do not. And of course, here in the production dungeon, making sure the whole world runs right, is producer Curt. Hello, sir.
How you doing, Wade?
I'm feeling great, Curt, because today is the beginning of a new era.
Oh, is it?
That's right.
I'm excited to be here at the beginning of a new era. This
Well,
sounds
as you should be.
So exciting.
A new era where a polar vortex freezes half of the country,
Okay.
and the other half of the country warms up like it's summertime. How do you feel about that?
I just know California life. There's life outside of here in this state.
Shocking to know, but yes.
Yeah, it's in Florida, too. There's a little bit of, there's life in Florida, and then that's about it.
Yeah. I remember Florida. That's a place.
Yeah, coast to coast. That's it. That's the only reference point we have. Florida and California. Well, my friends, so much great news to get to, and we start today with a big story about the Disney parks putting out a blanket statement regarding operations as well as phased reopenings when it comes to limited capacity, enhanced safety measures to come. They want to get everybody prepared for this. They want to get everybody comfortable with the idea. And so the official information recently came out, and we're going to share it with you here. There's a lot to touch. I'll read their official statement here in a couple of paragraphs. Upon reopening, they say, theme parks, Disney Resort hotels, restaurants, attractions, experiences, and other offerings may be modified and will be limited in capacity and subject to limited availability or closure based on direction from health experts and government officials to promote physical distancing. Additionally, attractions, experiences, services, and amenities may have limited availability or may remain closed. We will provide more information as it becomes available. We reserve the right to cancel any reservations, admission media, or purchases and provide applicable refunds. Our focus remains on the health and safety of the entire Disney community, including the well-being of the cast members who are caring and securing our parks and resorts during the closure. We're currently evaluating new and enhanced safety measures to help us all stay well. They mention that they will be likely opening things up in a limited capacity. I think more specifically that quote of upon reopening, theme parks, Disney Resort hotels, restaurants, attractions, experiences may be modified and will be limited in capacity and subject to limited availability or closure. Knowing that, Katrina, how do you think guests are going to handle paying that premium price that we know Disney is sort of infamous for charging? And we don't imagine that their ticket prices are going to go down anytime soon. In fact, right now there's probably a real fear that they might have to kick them up a notch to try and make sense out of this entire financial mess. But how do you think guests are going to handle paying that premium price to get into a park only to potentially find things closed?
Oh, there's like two things, right? So one, the Disney lovers are going to pay it and enjoy it, even though they might kind of feel like, yeah, I'm missing out on a couple things. I wish I could do this. And they may complain about it like on social media or something, but not really like attack Disney for it, but just say like, oh, I wish this happened. Then there's the other side that's going to be like completely oblivious to everything that's going to be closed, show up to the parks and then demand like a full on refund, even though they already went into this knowing that a lot of these things are going to be closed. I don't know. Honestly, I would feel like for me and Tyler, like, yeah, the things are going to be closed. We would already anticipate kind of like the differences that Disney's going to be. Maybe a couple of like the bigger rides are going to be closed down just because of like high touch points, or it's hard to like shut them down, clean the ride, and then send them on their way. But I think that the people that saved their money for a very long time and expect to go on this trip, and they're really eager to go on this trip, and then a lot of these things have shut down and characters might be gone,
right,
and stuff, they're going to be really upset.
So sort of a manage your expectations sort of situation there. And Tyler, what are your thoughts on phased park reopenings? For example, if they're going this route and, they're already kind of warning us, there is a potential that maybe they do 2 parks opening instead of 4. What's your take on something like that?
They definitely could. Even some of the places that are, Disney Springs is reopening soon, which is another story we'll get into. But even some of those places are going to be closed when they reopen. So I think it's high probability that they're not going to open everything all at once. Especially, I would think probably not all the resorts are even going to open. But they do say, excuse me, they do say that they'll give you a refund if they do have to close or whatever, which I know doesn't make up for things like airfare, but they're going to try and do their best. And unfortunately, people we're going to have to deal with like the realism of, the reality of the situation here. It could be upsetting to some, but this is our life right now. And we can't, I feel like we've been dealing with it for a couple months now, and it's just another part of life, unfortunately, at this point, where we just have to, even the grocery stores in our neighborhood close early and stuff. So it's just life, unfortunately. I hope people don't get too upset at them, because they're going to do what's best for everybody.
Right. It's only just begun. And Gared, if a park visit requires you to wear a face mask in 95-degree heat, which they are indicating in sort of every capacity that is exactly what they are going to ask of you, whether it's 65 or 95 out, and say you have to schedule your rides and your meals ahead of time, and you can only do a few things to begin with. At what point to you does a park visit stop being worth it?
To me, a park visit becomes not really worthwhile because I'm not really sure. We don't know how much of the park's going to be open. If it's like, oh, we're only going to have 3 attractions open, 5 restaurants, and 1 show a day, that to me wouldn't be worth it. But if they eventually limit it to the point where you can walk around and you're spending $120 a day just to walk around, that wouldn't be worth it for me. But as long as they have a good portion of their attractions open, even if they had something as simple as the Tiki Room, the Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse, and like attractions where it's not really a touching ride, like say for example Big Thunder Mountain, where you put your hands on a handrail. I'm completely down for that because I miss Disney, but if it gets to the point where there's next to nothing open, it's not worth it, because you could easily just go up there and wait outside without ever going inside and still feel that Disney presence. So as long as they keep a good portion of things open, I'll be happy just being in that atmosphere and being able to look around and taking the sights and sounds and smells that Disney's known for.
And producers, to jump from one coast to another and invest money in a big vacation, and I understand the health and safety matters paramount before anything else, but in order to justify a vacation, there are things that have to be provided, right? There are certain things that you have to expect are going to be there for you. What are some of the elements that, if removed, would make this a no deal for you?
Well, For me, it matters on how well they handle this in terms of lines, in terms of structuring, how I can go in terms of, like, if I get there and I can't get into the park because they've reached capacity, I there's just so much going on. For me, for instance, food would have to be a big thing. If not all the places are open that are dealing with the food that I like and enjoy so much at Disney, then I don't know if it's going to be. I know the rides are fun, but sometimes you got to sit down and you got to enjoy a beignet sometimes.
Right.
And if I can't get one, then that's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, I'm with you on the food, honestly.
Yeah.
I definitely agree.
So if like I can't get anything to eat because I can't sit down or I can't do anything to that effect, then that's a game changer for me.
Yeah, maybe if perhaps there's only a handful of restaurants online, and of course you have to digitally order ahead of time, or there's any number of variables they can be going with here. And certainly Bob Iger, executive chairman of the Walt Disney Company, mentioned here not too long ago in an interview that he did that they are watching and really sort of modeling what they're going to do at the domestic parks here in America based off of what they're doing and seeing and what works in their Asian parks. So more of their Shanghai and Hong Kong Disneyland type environments. Moving on, some good news we have to share, and that is, of course, Disney Springs is set to reopen. This is huge because this is the first major step domestically that the Walt Disney Company is taking and sort of indicating that, hey, we're trying to get back to a place where people could come visit us. And looks like May 20th is the date that they are talking about. And I know that lot of concern when it comes to, hey, well, what's going to be happening there and how's it going to work? And I know that public health and safety is very important to them. There's a discussion right now via various internet and social media models sort of touching on that fact that Disney Springs is very large and they do require that not only do their employees but also the guests that are visiting wear a face mask, and that they want to control the environment. They want to control the capacity that comes to Disney Springs. And I think what's really interesting is that as of right now, only third-party participant locations, so places other than Disney, are going to be reopening in that environment. So, say your Harley Davidson type shop, something like that, for example, even though I don't even know if that's there anymore. But, something like that would be reopening. And I think they went away a long time ago. But,
it's Disney style now. Sorry.
Disney style. That's right. Thank you. Yeah, it shows you how often I would visit that corner. But those other environments where third-party participants are creating space and making something either by restaurant, shop, or entertainment venue. So they are arriving first to the scene on May 20th, but not necessarily Disney. And I think that's interesting, Tyler. They want to control the capacity of Disney Springs. How do you think they're going to make that happen with so many entry points around that property?
That's honestly been kind of my number one question, especially when they're talking about only having a limited capacity and everything. It's like, so then is there just going to be massive lines outside of the orange and lime garages? Like, I don't really know how they're planning on handling that. Maybe they're going to just close off certain levels of each parking structure so that only a couple levels are open. But again, and will there even be lines? I don't know how many people are even going to try and show up. So it's like a lot of questions. And so for me, I don't think I would ever want to be there on day one of Disney Springs, because
sure,
I don't even think Disney knows the answer to any of these questions. So it's going to be really hard. Are they going to be letting people get dropped off, like over by the strawberry lot and everything? Like it's really weird. And like I was saying earlier, not even all the places are going to be open. Like I know for sure, like Homecoming said they're not opening and things like that. So it's going to be a weird experience. Imagine, I don't like STK, like we talked about a couple weeks ago or whatever, but imagine going there and that poor little DJ guy, has got his little mask on and stuff. Are you going to feel like partying? Like, I don't know. It's like it's going to be a weird vibe.
Yeah, to have it be such limited capacity too, we don't even necessarily know how many restaurants and stores and entertainment venues are going to be opening, because they weren't necessarily specific about that, just that it would be third-party participants mostly in the beginning. And Katrina, they're requiring and mentioning, I guess, that only third-party participants at this time. So establishments other than Disney, as we had referenced there. Why do you think Disney is keeping all of their stores and restaurants shuttered during this first phase?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they just want to try to get those people back in and like see how they do and then open up their stuff to try to get cast members back, because I don't know. Like
I'm wondering if it has to do, I'm wondering if it has to do with cast members and maybe they don't have they're not ready to train cast members yet again, or
like they don't want to like hire them back on to then if something happened, then they would have to like furlough them again, and then they would have, or like, fire them or something, and then they would have to pay unemployment. So maybe they're trying to get like the little guys to try to get their stuff done, and like the Patina group to do theirs.
I'm also wondering if the third party vendors are causing a stink behind the scenes and saying, we need to reopen, please let us reopen, because we can't stay here forever. And maybe Disney is panicking a little bit, thinking, oh, we don't want to lose our renters, so I think it could be a lot of things.
Yeah, but I do imagine like everybody walking in being like the Disney Cruise Line when you go eat, and then everybody before you walk into the restaurant give you hand sanitizer.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That's all I can think about right now is like everybody when you walk in is going to be like the Disney Cruise Line with hand sanitizer. And then before you eat your meal, they're going to go around the table and like give you hand sanitizer.
And some of those shops, even in certain corridors of Disney Springs are relatively small, and I think about the capacity that some of these stores even have to begin with. I think about the chocolate shop within Disney Springs and how tiny that is. I mean, I go in. Yeah, the Ganachery. Yeah. I go in there, and I mean, 10 people, and that place is packed. And separating them by 6 feet, as we continue to hear, is something that we should all be venturing to. I don't know if that could even work.
Bakery barely has room for 2 people.
I know. It's very claustrophobic everywhere. Like Sprinkles, it's just going to be the ATM pretty much, right?
But are you going to want to touch the ATM? I don't know. I don't want to touch the ATM.
I know, but there's always a line, so only like 4 people can really fit in the store. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of lines. I don't know how they're going to try to get the capacity right in Disney Springs. So I guess that's like their first venture. So
Yeah. We will see what they
Weird, I
come
don't
up
know.
with. A lot of, I'm sure, plans to put in place, and be interesting to see how Disney Town and sort of the downtown Disney type environments over in like Shanghai have done, and sort of what has won them over. Because no doubt they will probably be trying to utilize some of those practices here. Gared, being our Walt Disney World reporter, you might have some keen insight on this. The language that a limited amount of third-party participants will be open. Is this something where if it's, say, a quarter of third-party participants are open in Disney Springs, is that even worth a visit to you, or are you somebody that's in the camp where you're just going to wait until everything is open, no matter how long that takes?
I'm gonna go. Me personally, I will not be there on day one, but if I were down there, I would go because the benefit of Disney Springs is that you don't have to pay for parking, and there's not an admission fee to enter the area. It's a public area. So even if only a few places were open, I would still want to go in because I want to experience what they've been doing and just, again, take in the atmosphere, because Disney Springs is, in its way, it's a very own park where it has different music playing. It just has a different atmosphere. It's the shopping center of Disney. So I would go there just to check everything out, see what is open, and just walk around, because even though the spaces may be cramped, like what Tyler and Katrina said, the walkways are surprisingly large over there, and it's just a nice place to go. And I think this is going to be just a great chance for people to just get out of their houses and experience like outdoors and something Disney, because as we know, Disney is something that often people need in their lives. It's a very important part of their lives. So I would go and check it out. When everything does open, hey, that will be amazing. But until then, I'll take what little I can get. And since it's free, hey, that's a plus. So I'll go with the free stuff.
It also makes you kind of wonder, I mean, in terms of like outside patios and dining and stuff like that, we are seeing more and more states sort of welcome that idea back into the fold of you can dine with us. It just has to be out on a spaced patio. There are a lot of public spaces. You know, you mentioned how wide the walkways are and how much room there is to sort of get around at Disney Springs. And since it has been sort of reborn in the last few years, it is a great place to hang out at. It is a wonderful place to sort of linger at. But with, only a handful of places potentially open based on what they're saying. I also wonder maybe if there's going to maybe be like a moratorium on people hanging out at those outside tables and, standing around and lingering because you think about that, the more people you have loitering, the more people you have just sort of hanging out, not necessarily going anywhere in particular, means the more people you have crowded into a space and potentially in other people's, individual space. It almost makes me wonder if, they are going to remove some of those tables, chairs, and some of those extras that we've come to know at Disney Springs. What do you think, Gared?
The outdoor areas are very unique at Disney Springs just because many restaurants have their own, but majority is that Disney puts them out themselves. So I could see potentially a removal of a lot of them. Say, for example, a restaurant like Polite Pig, they have a ton of outside area, but they're very cramped together. So I could see them maybe, instead of there being 25 tables, there's only 5 tables. And inside, instead of there being 30 tables, there's only 6. So reducing the amount of area would definitely allow people not to congregate as much. But if they are opening up these restaurants, they need people to sit in places. So perhaps to sort of control the potential chance of COVID spreading, they might say, hey, you can only eat inside of here or in our limited dining space, or you must get it to go and you can eat while walking or something to that degree. But for the outside tables, it's very hard to keep control under that, unless they have, say, a Disney custodial member standing nearby just to spray down a table the second they get done eating. But it's very hard to control this just because, like, you don't know where people have been sitting there. You need clean tables, and you can't have people eating off of trash cans, which is the Disney way of eating during certain festivals. So the tables will be troublesome, but I think that the restaurants will control themselves. And when it comes to places like the Ganachery, which are very tight, they probably will have a team member or a cast member out front saying, okay, you can go in, like controlling the flow of people, saying you guys need to be spread out. You can go in. Now wait. Okay, they left. You can go in. It's going to be a very controlled environment. I have no doubt about that. There's going to be more security, a lot of custodial cast members, and probably Disney management and leadership there trying to support the efforts of their teams to try and make this as safe and healthy. Because Disney's not just going to let it run free. They're going to try and make sure that this is safe, because they don't want another outbreak to happen, because then they have to close longer and that's more money lost.
It also seems like Disney Springs might be a hard place to enforce time limits in. I mean, it's so sprawling and large, and there's so many different sort of neighborhoods within the land itself to visit, that I can absolutely see that being a struggle. If you're already limiting capacity, you probably want to offer that up to as many people as possible. I know Disney and how they operate, and they would want to do that. They would want to be able to offer up this environment to individuals who also want a chance, who might be standing on the outside saying, I want to get in too. I do not envy guest relations. I do not envy the leaders of operations that have to deal with this. It is going to be quite a struggle, and we all definitely need to keep our patience. May 11th is the day that Shanghai Disneyland will be officially reopening. Big, big news. It is time for magic once again, as the Walt Disney Company has said in its first sort of grand gesture, that Shanghai Disneyland will be reopening. There's so much in terms of phased reopening that they are doing here. As they put out, they said, based on the additional measures and procedures, we ask for guests' understanding of and compliance with the following requirements when Shanghai Disneyland reopens. Saying, number one, purchase dated admission tickets for Shanghai Disneyland prior to their arrival, as on-site sales will not be available. Annual pass holders must make a reservation for their visit date and time through Shanghai Disney Resort's official online channels before their visit to the park. During this advanced reservation period, general admission tickets for Shanghai Disneyland will not be accepted. They also say provide basic personal information for each guest visiting the park, including name, phone number, ID type, and ID number via Shanghai Disney Resort's official online channels after purchasing a ticket, and prior to arriving at the resort, and register for the health QR code, which we know is unique to China, prior to their arrival, which will be required to be presented upon entering any location at Shanghai Disney Resort. Only guests with a green health QR code will be allowed to enter the resort. Very interesting to hear those requirements. Tyler, do you think that pushing the return of things, because they've mentioned this several times and they mentioned it in their release here with the return of Shanghai Disneyland, they're pushing things like nighttime spectaculars and parades, and saying that they will get back to those at some other time down the road? Do you think pushing those things down the road will be adopted at domestic parks, maybe not opening with all that entertainment that we have come to know and love?
1,000%. Yeah, that's definitely happening. I don't think there's going to be theater shows for a while. And even going back to Disney Springs for a second, I mean, that Cirque du Soleil show is not going to be happening anytime soon either, unfortunately. The nighttime spectaculars and things, not only do they get a bunch of people together all in one place, but they're also very expensive. And expensive is not a word that Disney wants to hear right now, for obvious reasons. Yeah. So these shows will not be happening for a little time. I think they mentioned that they're going to be doing like their projection show over in Shanghai, and they're going to have like a little cavalcade too. So, it's not to say that all the shows are going to be gone, but they're just going to be much smaller versions so that, people don't congregate quite as much.
Right, there will be at least something to offer, but I can definitely see, much to your point, a lot of entertainment being pushed down the road a bit before it makes its triumphant return. Katrina, they're requiring people to purchase dated tickets, and that's the only way you can enter the park over there. Likely so they can control how many guests, obviously, they can admit, and they'll be able to control it that way. Can you see something like that being instituted for a place like Disneyland USA? Do you think that's at all possible here?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's like their only way to really try to like maintain like how many people are going to be there. And then they've done it for annual pass holders. Like there's an annual pass where you have to reserve a date to actually get into the park. I just hope that there's going to be consequences to people that don't show up to the park on the day, for annual pass holders anyway. Because the people that buy the daily, is there one?
I don't know if for annual pass holders. I would think there's no
Well, for
refunds
the
on
general,
tickets,
that's what I was
but
gonna say.
but
For
I don't know about the
general
annual pass
tickets,
holders.
I
yet.
understand, because you bought it, you're going to spend $125 for that one day ticket, you're going to show up. But for annual pass holders, I'm scared that they're going to open it up and say you have to have a reservation to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's just going to be a swarm of locals that are just going to reserve that day and say, hey, if we make it, we make it. If we don't, we don't. And then the people that actually do want to show up can't get a reservation because everybody just took it up. So
Sure.
I hope that there's going to be consequences, at least like a $25 or something, to make people show up if they choose that time.
Well, I wonder if a limited number of reservations could be a thing that they maybe do, like possibly being like, oh yeah, you get 3 reservations this month, and if you don't, and so you wouldn't want to waste it because you would only have your 3, so I don't know. But then that would also make, then you're also paying for an annual pass that you can only use 3 times. Yeah. So it's a tough situation that they're in. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm just worried that that's the only issue that I have is with the annual pass holders, because Disneyland USA is, mainly annual pass holders.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm nervous about when they're opening it up to reservations only, and then like, the locals or whoever can get there, I don't know, whatever time they open up those reservations are going to hop on the computer, grab them all, and then the people that actually do want to show up can't. So I hope that they register that.
Yeah, I know Curt and I have the Flex Pass for Disneyland, and that's something where you do have to make the reservation for the dates that are considered, high capacity days. So you would have to make a reservation ahead of time. So we're already used to doing that. It's a tremendous value this pass. I don't know how it will be anymore, but we already have to do that. And you do get penalized if you don't show up.
Yeah, if you can make, I think, 2 reservations within a 30-day period. Mm-hmm. And then if you don't show up, I think you can get 2 strikes, is it? If you have 2 no-shows, then you can't make any reservations for a while.
I think it's 2 or 3, but you definitely are playing hardball there. And yeah, they don't want anybody to miss their window, and so then they block you, and they put you sort of in that restricted category for a while, and then you've wasted a month. You've wasted a month and you can't go back.
I wasn't aware of that. That is good, and I guess they could probably take that model and put it onto this too. So we'll see. And it seems like they already have that system kind of built a little bit. So hopefully they run it off into this.
And Gared, those dated tickets, they went on sale Friday, the 8th, and sold out almost immediately. CEO Bob Chapek said in the company earnings call that he believes Disney parks will bounce back faster than anticipated due to pent-up demand. Do you think there's pent-up demand here in the States, and how do you think that'll play out?
I definitely think there is pent-up demand, but I don't think it's enough to bounce back faster than what was projected. People want to go to the parks. You see it across YouTube. You see it from the vloggers and just people going into the site and how Disney's putting out stuff, and people are going to it right away because people need their fix. And since Disney is in a way kind of a drug that people take. And for me, for example, I love Disney like the rest of us. And when people hear that the parks are opening in Shanghai, people are like, it's coming for us. We're going to get our chance. We're going to get there. And people are hugging their computer because they want that opportunity. I could see this going kind of bad with granted, out in Shanghai, it's a lot easier to control that environment via these health QR codes. But out here, we don't have any system like that. So I'm wondering how that will go down, because I can imagine a family of 10 showing up saying like, hey, we want to go to Disney. We don't have a reservation, but we're going into Disney. And it just gets really bad. But there's some kind of pent up excitement, but I don't think it will truly boost profits faster than they project. I'm sure people will go back, but there's also the greater fear that if people go back to Disney, that there's a chance of COVID like spreading again. If there were a vaccine, then I think it would be 0 to 100 really fast because they don't have as much fear about it, but because there's still the fear of contracting this virus, people are going to be hesitant. But when the parks do open up, I'll buy 8 tickets and I'll somehow make that work.
Excellent. And something that we wanted to touch on is the fact that, both Walt Disney World and Disneyland have pushed reservation windows now out again to July the 1st. And something that we were mentioning in a recent broadcast is that the mayor of Orange County in Florida was mentioning that it's realistic that Disney World could potentially come online in June. The reason he's saying that, obviously, is because government regulations may allow for it, but he's not taking into account that Disney wants to be 100% absolutely confident in their ability to protect and secure their guests, because you can only imagine what would happen if people walked away infected with COVID-19 after a Disney World trip. That's all the bad press that they need to have to shut things down again. They don't want to make that mistake. I think that's very clear that as Disney goes, so does the rest of the economy. I think in this capacity, and Southwest Airlines CEO even recently said, in order for the travel industry to start again, Disney needs to reopen, because they are the flagship leader, and everybody would have that much more comfort and confidence that it's okay to travel again. It's okay to go to big public destinations if Disney were to reopen. So many unanswered questions, so many things to think about as Shanghai Disneyland reopens, and now the domestic parks and their reservation windows are now pushed out to July the 1st. We've seen this happen a couple different times. Who knows how much longer it will be before the United States Disney parks reopen. All right, my friends, you need a Disney pick-me-up? Well, the Voices of Liberty of Epcot recently came together to sing a happy little song for all of us to enjoy at home. Take a look.
Well, hi there. This is Aaron from the Voices of Liberty. And we really wish we could be with you in Epcot at Walt Disney World right now.
And we thought using our voices from home to sing for you again is a great way to stay in touch.
Because that's just what friends do.
You've got a friend in me.
You got a friend in
You've got a friend in me.
You got troubles, I got them too. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for you. We stick together, we can see it through. 'Cause you've got a friend in me. Yeah, you've got a friend in me. Mr. Aladdin, sir, what will your pleasure be? Take your order, jot it down. You ain't never had a friend like me. No, no, no. Life is your restaurant and we are your maitre d'. Whisper what it is you want. You ain't never had a friend like me, and I say so. Mr. Aladdin, sir, and we're short 2 or 3. We're on the job, you big name Bob.
You ain't never had a friend.
Never had a friend.
You ain't
Never had a friend.
never had a friend.
You ain't never had a never had no like. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You ain't never had a friend like me.
Hey, that was fun.
We sure hope you enjoyed that.
All of your friends in the Voices of Liberty want you to know that we'll see you real soon.
Kingdom Team All Call time. You got questions for us? We got answers for you. There's always questions coming into us via KingdomReportLive.com. Also over on the Kingdom Report via YouTube, and then of course at Kingdom Report Live on social media. All ways to get in touch with us there. And we thank you once again for sending in your questions. First question up this broadcast happens to come from Disney.E71, who says, "Are you concerned that the Disney parks we knew might never be the same after COVID-19? Tyler, let's start with you. This virus, this global pandemic, has changed so much about our daily lives already, and it's likely to dramatically change the way we travel and the way we interact, even from person to person, even long after a vaccine is probably discovered. What do you make of this type of a question? Are you at all concerned that Disney parks are not going to be the same after this?
I think that they will not. I think the forever part will work out in all of our benefit. Like things like maybe sinks that, give you a little more water and you don't have to touch them. Maybe more, Purell around, maybe just cleaning more often. But I think most of the negative stuff that's going to impact us for the next, months or year or whatever, I think that stuff will eventually fade away. But there is always going to be some type of change. I mean, after 9/11 happened, we all got used to security being at theme parks. And that, I think a lot of people forget that wasn't always a given. You didn't have to show your bag every time you went into Disneyland in the past. And at first it was really hard to get used to, but now we just kind of take it as part of the experience. I think most of the bad stuff will not be around forever. There will be some changes that do last for quite a while, but I'm not worried that we're going to have massive changes that just are part of our forever life now. I don't think that's actually going to happen.
Katrina, what say you?
The same. I honestly it's going to be pretty strange probably for my expectations probably a couple years. Yeah. Until they kind of figure out what's going to happen, because Disney's a private property. They don't want anything bad happening. So I think they're just going to take it little by little. They don't want to go back into like the normal life again. Like Tyler said, security is, now probably the new norm is going to be temperature checks. Who knows, and then I feel like it's just going to be there for a couple years until it starts flattening out again. And then things will go back to normal, because they can't get rid of fireworks forever. They can't get rid of parades forever. That's not Disney's way. So I can't imagine them just creating this new norm that we're just going to deal with for the rest of our lives, because I would die without fireworks.
We don't want you to
some of these things.
I'll do it for a year or so, and I'll be like, all right, fine, I get it. Cavalcade, cool, no big deal. But not meeting characters, not seeing like little kids run up and hug them, and seeing those cute little videos where like little kids fall and then like Stitch falls down with them, and it's like, oh God, I can't see that happening for, having them like do away with characters forever, like,
Sure.
To meet and greet.
And some of the things that are going to be changing might actually benefit us. Like, for example, the virtual queues like that they've been working on, because I love virtual queues personally. And every time I've ever used them, Universal uses them a lot. I've always enjoyed it. And I could see that being a mainstay for quite a while, if not forever. And I think that's a benefit for everybody.
I mean, Disneyland's kind of doing it right now with their fast pass systems. So I can totally see them doing it. For right now, they're doing the virtual queue, and then maybe later down the road, they might try to roll it out for like a longer period or something. I wouldn't mind it. That'd be kind of nice.
Yeah.
I don't have to wake up at like 4 a.m. trying to get a fast pass 60 days in advance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No one wants to deal with that. No, ma'am. And Gared, are you at all concerned that Disney parks are just not going to be the same after this? I mean, that warm touch of hospitality that Disney cast members are known for, it almost seems to me like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I get this feeling that coming out on the other side of this, when parks start to open up, and Katrina may be right, for the next couple of years, it almost seems as though cast members are going to be sort of deputized into just, rule pushers and people that are constantly asking you to stay 6 feet apart and to go ahead and use that Purell, and please put your mask on. And, they already do that with parades and stuff like that. But for the most part, you go about your day without a whole lot of instruction. Do you imagine that might play into the whole changes of what might occur in Disney parks after COVID-19?
Disney has always tried to push safety. It's their top concern. So I've no doubt that cast members will probably primarily do that, just because it's for everyone's safety. But even when you're in a ride, be like, rather than them doing what they have done in the past, which is, say, for example, on Rock and Roller Coaster, we're like, everyone push forward. Now it's going to be like, everyone pull back. I imagine they'll do something similar to that. But no, they will be rule pushers, and they'll be a lot more like on it. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a necessary evil that we have to have. But going back to the original question, great question. I do not think it will be it forever. Walt said that the parks are ever changing and they'll never be complete, and they're always evolving, and that stands true here until a vaccine comes out. I imagine these rules will be in place, but after that, I imagine Disney will pull back a little bit on the rules, still keeping some of them there because they are necessary towards like moving forward. But the parks will not be like this forever. You will one day be able to hug your princesses. You'll be able to shake hands with Mickey. You'll be able to high five cast members. I know that's one thing I like is when I'm leaving the park, they're like high four, and like if you have a Mickey glove on, you high four them. That's something that is a part of the culture of Disney, and I think it will one day return, but it probably won't be for a little while. I could at least see these new rules of like social distancing and not touching things going for easily a year. But remember, in the grand scheme of things, Disney parks have only been around 65 years total. So this is like 1 year in 65 years. That's a very small price to pay. But Disney will be back. It'll be better than ever, stronger. And I'm sure that Disney will make up for it in some amazing, spectacular way, because that's what Disney does.
I think, if anything, this entire experience on the other side of COVID-19, and for however long we have to experience what is going to be in effect, it's going to make us even more grateful for the Disney parks that we remember. And then when those potential things come back online for us in terms of older experiences and the ability to do things the way we used to, I think that when those things start to appear again, we will be so much more grateful for them, and hopefully just to have a bit of a better attitude when it comes to our Disney park going experience. Great question. All right, next question up comes from Chess on Fleek, who says, do you think any major projects like Epcot's overhaul or the Avengers Campus at Disneyland are going to be delayed or stopped because of coronavirus? Now, before we dive into that, I do want to mention that it appears that crews in an essential capacity have returned to Disneyland this week to begin work once again on the Toontown Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway attraction, and then also Avengers Campus. So it already looks like there's some progress there, and I know that Avengers Campus was already slated for an opening coming into this summer, and now that has been a to-be-determined slot, at least online officially by Disney. So let's start with you, Katrina. Do you think that any sort of projects are going to be delayed or maybe off the table? Because right now the company's hurting for cash. Right now the company is in a really bad financial limbo. And if there were projects coming, there's likely a chance that, hey, the carpet's going to get pulled out from under these things.
Yeah, I mean, I think Avengers Campus, like you said, they sent people back to start working on it, but I think that is even going to be delayed. Hopefully, the main important thing I'm hoping that they really push is the entrance to Epcot, because that is ugly and it needs to be fixed like ASAP, so they cannot shelve that. And like the thing that I think is going to be shelved is the Mary Poppins attraction.
Sure.
It's going to go where the Lost Things go. Because you see what I did there. Anyway, so
that's why she took that pause.
I just think that was like I was hoping for it. I really wanted to see it happen, but I don't think it's going to happen in the time length that they said that they were going to try to start breaking ground and get that stuff done. That one's going to go goodbye. The Ratatouille ride, that's like ready to go. So like, you know, the things I think that are like feasible they're going to do first, and then things that they have to break ground on and stuff they're probably going to like push off to the side.
Tyler, you think we're going to lose any attractions? Do you think we're going to lose any experiences that were originally announced that haven't broken ground yet, rather?
I mean, possibly the Mary Poppins attraction, like Katrina was saying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, things that if they've announced, I think for the most part, the things that they've announced, they're going to make good on, because they kind of know they have to. And And like, especially in Florida, you know, Universal is busy building their, I'll be generous, their 4th theme park. And you know, if they're going to keep on building at Universal, Disney's going to just kind of have to keep building too. There's kind of no two ways about it.
But it's delayed though by a
Yeah,
year.
it's delayed, exactly. But you know, the question is will these things be canceled?
Yeah.
And
they better not cancel that like 3-tier middle part in Epcot that they're trying to do, and they got rid of the fountain.
It's things
I would
like,
be so mad.
it's things like that I think might be shelved, but again, that's supposed to be like a festival center, and the festivals makes them so much money. So
what about Moana?
I mean, Moana seems like I don't know exactly.
It was delayed already by a year.
I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but it sounds like it's not going to be millions and billions of dollars. It sounds like it's going to be like kind of a playground area, which again, they don't want to open. I'm sure they don't want to open playgrounds and stuff right now. So is that going to be a bad idea to have a water play area in this time? I don't know. It's a tough question. I think if they've announced the things, they're going to keep on building them. Maybe things will be scaled back a little bit, unfortunately. But if they have a major plan for something, Tron is already pretty much set in stone. I mean, I'm curious how Guardians of the Galaxy is, because you know, I'm pretty sure they still haven't done filming for that attraction yet, and I'm wondering if they're going to have to cut some of that back. But I know the track is already being built, so it's not like something that they can just. It would cost more money to change those things at this point. You know, it's a good question. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's on our viewers' minds, definitely. And Gared, before we go to you, something that I want to touch on here is that back in the 08 market crash, right before everything sort of hit the roof, there was an announcement that Cars Land was coming to Disney California Adventure. You might recall this time where things were good, right before the market crash in 08, things were great economically, and then all of a sudden market crash happened, but they just announced that Cars Land was coming, as was World of Color and all these huge changes to California Adventure Park at that time. Well, one of the things that had occurred was the check had been cut, the check had been spent, and so some of these projects that are years in the making or have been announced already may be in that category of the check was cut and therefore spent. So we don't necessarily know what the money has been spent on yet. And I think that's part of the hassle here, is not necessarily knowing what got the funding and what didn't. But for anything, much to Tyler and Katrina's point, that hasn't been built yet, that worries me too. I mean, there's such an ability to, pull the rug out from under a project at this point and say, we just can't afford it right now. So are you in fear of losing anything, or maybe seeing things delayed, Gared?
I believe that things are going to be more than likely delayed, not canceled. Like you said, the check's already been cut. They're not going to just stop construction on Tron and not do anything with it, because the track is all laid in there. All they have to do is add some of the special effects, and that baby's done. However, I do believe the Walt Disney World Railroad will never be completed and will never run again. But no, plans like the Mary Poppins attraction, which is very ambiguous and sort of unknown as to what it's going to be, that will definitely get pushed back, and perhaps people will forget about it because they'll be focusing on all this other stuff. But Guardians of the Galaxy, that's going to continue on. That's going to be streamlined. I believe most of the construction at Epcot will keep going further ahead, just because that money's been spent. They've already removed parts of buildings. You can't leave it like that, because then it's an eyesore. So the projects that are currently being worked on and being built, those will be done, such as the refurbishments for certain rides that continues on. But yeah, the only real projects that we see that haven't really had anything is that Mary Poppins attraction, and that's really about it. That we haven't really heard any other like unknown projects that haven't already broken ground. So things that are already being built, they will continue on and be finished. But yeah, I was never really excited for the Mary Poppins attraction to begin with, just because it's very ambiguous. Like if you give me more specifics about it, I'll get more excited about it. But right now, it's just, I can see it just being like a walkthrough of Cherry Tree Lane, and that's all there is. And
I guess
that's
it was
cool and
just an
all, but
idea being floated. It wasn't necessarily anything concrete yet. So you're absolutely right. And I think it'll be really fascinating when the parks do reopen, just how much changes at the Epcot Experience Preview Center for what's coming, like how many different sections of the video as to what's coming is like cut out and just quietly put into shadows. I think that'll be fascinating too. So a lot to consider there when it comes to things that might be delayed or otherwise tabled entirely. And our final question to all of us comes from the Sandlerisms. They ask, with Disney Springs reopening soon, how do you make the most of your time when visiting? So what are some of your favorite things to do at Disney Springs? How do you make a day or an evening out of it? And I think this is a really great question for everybody because as things come back online, it sounds like Disney Springs might be the first thing to come to full capacity, eventually. It sounds like that might be the first thing on property to come back to full capacity. So do you guys like to spend, more of an evening there? Are you more of the afternoon visitors? What say you, Katrina, when it comes to Disney Springs?
We kind of do it when we have free time. Maybe I think that's pretty much like maybe dinner and then grab a drink afterwards. And then that's like the only place that you can really grab a drink and kind of like walk around and stuff. So we grab like a margarita and like hang out and then go away. So I think, but mainly it's just like whenever we have free time after like, if we have a period between like fast passes and other things that we have. But yeah, I don't know. That's like kind of when we go. I'm excited because I'll just grab my onion rings, my little gluten-free onion rings over at Cooks of Dublin and just walk around and eat my onion rings and have a margarita.
Hey,
they both go so well together.
They do, don't they? It just sounds like stomach acid to me, but it does. I love them both. And then maybe like, what is it called? Jock Lindsay's. That's like
the Hangar Bar. That was the number one thing on my mind. If I was going to be going back to Disney Springs, I would definitely be getting a cool-headed monkey at the Hangar Bar. And the bummer is you want to enjoy the atmosphere.
Right.
Like you were just saying, you want to walk around, and that's what I like to do too. But then, are they going to have people performing at Raglan Road? Are they going to have people performing outside? Are we going to see our good friend? Oh gosh, what's his name?
I know. God, it's like a car for Ferrari. No,
Maserati.
Maserati. Maserati. Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember his first name, but
Mister.
But is it just Mister?
I don't know.
I don't think it is. I don't think so. But he's a really good friend, as you can tell. But yeah,
it's going to cause like crowding.
Yeah, it will.
Cheers.
So I want to go do Hangar Bar. I would like to get some barbecue over at Polite Pig, and I think those are kind of the two things that come to the top of my mind.
We don't spend a lot of time there. It's like a couple hours maybe, and then the shopping, maybe go look around and see what we need. But we have like the same stores in California, so if you want a tax break, I guess you can go shopping at Disney Springs.
Are there any sort of stores that are unique to Disney Springs that you visit? Anything off the top of your head?
I do like Uniqlo. Isn't that funny? Uniqlo. That one's, but I never buy really anything. I like go in just to check to see what kind of cute like Disney stuff they have because it's like decently cheap.
Yeah, unbelievable prices.
But that's pretty much it. I don't really like. Is there anything that's like really?
I don't know. I mean, I like to go to Stance because it's the only Stance that I know of.
That's true.
But then
now we have one at our mall.
Yeah, I guess they're opening one over
know.
here. So, but I can't think of anything super unique that I need to go to while I'm over in Disney Springs, besides the eateries and the bars and stuff.
So it's not really a destination for you guys on your vacation, I take it.
If we have time, because like sometimes there's like the restaurants and stuff, we always try to go get restaurants, meet up with friends, because that's like a good mutual spot for people that live in Florida. Mm-hmm. So when we have friends that live there, except for Gared, who kept canceling on us.
Whoa!
Let's bring that back.
Call
up.
him out. Throw down.
But like it's easier for people to park because it's free parking. They don't have to deal with, like, hey, let's meet at Magic Kingdom. So that's like a nice mutual spot for us to meet friends at night to go grab food, have a drink, that kind of stuff.
I think for us, I feel like we want to go at least once while we're there, but it's not like at the top of our list. And we always go for maybe an hour and a half or so, and then we're good,
Absolutely. And Gared, our Walt Disney World reporter, who's apparently also a flake, what are some of the things that you focus in on when it comes to Disney Springs, it being in your backyard and all?
I don't like you guys at all. You're mean to me.
I see him blushing because he knows it's true.
One time. But
he admits it.
The thing I love most about Disney Springs has to be the atmosphere. And when it comes to doing certain activities, it depends on the time of day also. So say, for example, I want to see a new movie. I'll usually go in the morning because the locals will go later because they have work. So I do that in the morning. But I really miss, fantastic restaurants such as T-Rex and Rainforest Cafe. Those places just get me going every time. And I really, really miss Ghirardelli, which is where I used to work. Honestly, the places I miss out there are going to be, there's this one clothing shop called Shore that I can't afford, but I like going in there because it looks nice. But I don't know, it's just, for me, it's an area I like to just walk through, hear the music, take it all in, and just enjoy the sights. I really enjoy the actual spring parts of it, where you look at the water and you have the lanterns out on the water. It's just a nice place to relax. One thing that I always do is when Ariel's in town, my girlfriend, if you've never been on the show.
Your beautiful girlfriend who you love,
yes,
as I understand it.
Absolutely. I love her with all my heart.
Yep.
When we go out there, we typically will go see a movie, and then after we will walk around, and we usually end up at Raglan Road, and we like to watch the Irish step dancers and just have a drink because it's just a fun, nice environment. And Ariel's also a former dancer, and she's a tap dancer. And so she likes to critique all the people dancing. And she's like, ooh, he's good. No, she's totally faking everything. So that's our tradition of going there. But there's so much Disney Springs, but honestly, not much of it is like, for me, I'm not just like, I have to have it. Because I have it all the time. But I just like to enjoy everything, take it all in, just breathe in the atmosphere, and just I like to people watch and listen to everyone like enjoying their vacation. It really makes me excited.
Well, you should reach up and slap that water tower on the rear and tell it to get in gear. Go for it. There you go.
Wait, no. Just slap it.
Go Disney Springs, go. We're waiting on you. Well, producer Curt.
We need you to open back up stats.
That's right. Producer Curt, what is Disney Springs like to you when you obviously take vacations to Walt Disney World? Is it a day destination for you? Do you spend a lot of your evenings there? What does it look like on your end?
So for me, I usually do 3 days of parks and then one day where I just kind of relax and rest.
Mm-hmm.
And Disney Springs is usually included on that day of relaxation. We'll hotel hop. We'll spend a couple hours at Disney Springs, and we'll just take it easy for that one day so that we can kind of recuperate and get back to the swing of things right afterwards. So Disney Springs kind of falls in that sign. And I don't go out of my way to go there, but I do try to swing it in just because it's more laid back. It's not as hectic. And it's just kind of cool and calm and collected where I could just go through it and enjoy shopping and hang back a bit.
Casual filler day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just nothing much. Nothing too crazy. Just eat something.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Tyler and Katrina were talking about. Just kind of grab a drink and just enjoy the day.
Yeah, mill about. Well, Disney Springs has become a place that I just thoroughly enjoy hanging out at when I'm visiting Walt Disney World. And I tend to hop on over after parks close. And sometimes I'll head over there as it opens, because typically it takes a couple of hours before the place really starts to get sort of bustling and busy in the early hours of its operation. And so it's nice to have Disney Springs to yourself a little bit. Some of the places that I really love visiting while I'm there, and a great place I think to go at any point during the day is the Coca-Cola rooftop bar. I don't know if anybody's been up there, but what an awesome place to go hang out at. It's beautiful. You got wide sweeping vistas of both the Team Disney building on one side, and then also the waterways surrounding Disney Saratoga Springs and the waterways that go out to the other Disney resorts. You kind of got a sweeping view of the rest of Disney Springs. Chicken Guy, a great cheap alternative to the rest of the expensive Disney Springs fare. Huge fan of Wolfgang Puck Express. Love that food, and everything that comes by way of Wolfgang Puck Express. And then some of those more like boutique type stores that have really come about as of late at Disney Springs. I'm really starting to enjoy myself as well. So walking through Disney Springs is, it feels different during the day. It feels different at night. And it's a great place to constantly get your grub on because it is one of those locations that just has, endless options and always a great place to hang out at. So wonderful question. Hopefully you got the answer you were looking for. I think a great place to go spend some time if you got it, and definitely a good filler day if it's a vacation where you just want to relax, like Curt said.
Do you go to Coca-Cola for your Beverly fix? Is that why you go there?
No, I don't get my Beverly.
There?
Yeah, they do have Beverly there.
They got all the
Cokes.
Cokes.
Everyone's gonna out now because
But you have to buy it.
Yeah, you have to buy it.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm down.
Okay.
Get a 2-liter of that, baby. Just
Wow. Chug that, Beverly. Yeah, I don't drink alcohol, so it's personal choice. It's not religious or anything, but I don't drink alcohol, and so I'm not nearly as classy as Tyler and Katrina. And I often think it is, and so I often think, well, where can I go knock one back? And so I head on up and I knock my Coke back at the Coke rooftop bar. That's how I'm classy.
That sounds wrong, honestly.
Knock my Coke back?
Back the Coke.
I'm just thinking of, I don't know.
How dare you?
Illicit materials.
It's a family show, sir.
Do you hug the Coca-Cola bear as well?
I have met him twice, and I do have some pictures with the Coke bear. He doesn't necessarily talk, but he does react. And in all the photos that I have with him, he looks truly horrified to be with me. So yeah, we'll have to share that at some point. But some of the tips for you to enjoy while at Disney Springs. All right, well, as we all know, Mother's Day is upon us, and we wanted to take a moment to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mumsies out there, including our own moms. Take a look. Finishing up with a live look outside via the MatterCam at Disneyland Park, and we see the Matterhorn. Yeah, you want to scale that Matterhorn as much as I do. I know you do. You see the Castle Spires there off to the left-hand side of the shot. Oh, we miss you, Sleeping Beauty Castle. We miss you a great deal. And, hopefully we will be able to see you again real soon. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that about brings our program to a close. One last trip around the world to chat with our friends and see if they have any closing notes for us. Gared, closing notes. What's on your mind?
3 of those moms of the Disney moms are evil. I just want you to know that.
Absolutely.
But
I like how you threw in Rapunzel's quote unquote mom.
Yeah.
we all love our abductee mothers. But no, for me, I'm just going to be hanging out here. Going to eat some lunch. And then tomorrow, since it's Mother's Day, I'm going to FaceTime my mom since I can't be there with her. Give her some love and all that stuff. And probably just talk about Disney and the next time we can make a trip together. But other than that, it's just relax and try not to get Stockholm syndrome from being inside all day.
We wouldn't want that, but it looks like you're outside with the water tower.
Yeah. I've been spanking it constantly, trying to get it to open, but it just does not want to move any faster.
Oh, scandalous! Wow.
Dirty.
My goodness. We have a lot to say about that.
Our team is so bad. It's just, oh my gosh.
Think about what you said.
I can't wait for it. I know. I can't wait for us to do just like a Kingdom Report after hours.
Between the Coke references and the spanking of the towers, I'm not sure.
I know. I'm sorry.
To open.
Listen, this is not a program for children necessarily.
No. Yeah, we'd be struck by that COPPA regulation.
We need a lawyer just in case.
We do, absolutely. Well, Tyler, Katrina, wrapping things up. Anything to share?
I love my mommy.
Yeah.
She's watching right now. So happy Mother's Day.
Yeah. Happy Mother's Day, of course, to all the moms out there. And then a very special happy birthday as well to my mom, who on May 11th, the same day Shanghai Disney is opening.
Whoa!
So, Shanghai Disney has the honor of sharing that day with my mother. So there you go. Happy birthday and happy Mother's Day to my mama.
Happy birthday to her.
And I definitely got all my photos out from the garage, and it's finally happening this week. I've been plugging it for weeks, but I got all the photos out, and it's coming up this week.
Anticipation.
Bunch of old photos from theme parks, including Universal Studios and stuff. So look forward to that.
It's about damn time.
I know. I've been putting it off for a little while. I'm sorry, Animal Crossing. Don't be disappointed in me. I built a tiki bar.
Priorities.
Classy.
Yeah, no, very significant in anybody's life to build that tiki bar. I don't know if you guys saw, but there was a story that was published this past week when it was announced when Shanghai Disneyland was going to be reopening that Walt Disney will reopen Shanghai Disneyland on May 11th. Of course, referring to the Walt Disney Company, but they wrote it as Walt Disney will be reopening. So it'll be great to have him back.
He's finally coming out from underneath the Matterhorn.
That's right.
Wow. They're thawing out his frozen head.
He has risen.
Yeah.
He has risen indeed. Absolutely. So we're looking forward to having Walt Disney back. Grand reopening of Shanghai Disneyland on May the 11th. It'll be weird to see what he looks like after all this time, but grateful to have the founder back with us on May the 11th. Maybe he'll make it to the domestic parks too.
Hopefully. We can all just pray.
Let's dream. That's right. Well, my friends,
I think it's just going to be Chapek in a mask.
Oh God.
Oh boy,
Ew.
that would be disappointing.
Oh.
That's like Halloween.
Oh my goodness.
Listen, they have a low budget. They can't do the full unthawing. It's either a partial unthaw or it's a mask.
I could just see Iger just slapping him and going, "Get out of here, Junior! What are you doing?"
Stop portraying the founder. Get out of here. You'll never be as good.
That's right. It's true.
Well, it's great to see all of you, and I'm so grateful to have had this time to share with you to talk Disney once again. As always, we want to share that you can head on over to the King Report on YouTube. Make sure that you are subscribed to us. Get that notification bell turned on so that you never miss a broadcast, never miss our videos throughout the week as well. And, you remember that the legacy of Walt Disney, it only lives on because of people like you and me. Happy Mother's Day. We love you, moms. We'll see you next week.